Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. And once again, it is time for the long-awaited FOMO Friday here on the podcast. Yes, it is Friday already, and we love to bring you the FOMO Friday report because we don't want you to have that fear of missing out, particularly if you're not listening to propaganda media anymore. You want to know what's going on, and so we love to bring you the stories of the week that you should probably know at least a little bit about. And from the numerous articles from the Daily Wire comes this very first one, and this is kind of an update, I guess you could say, to one that we have covered a couple times now. But it looks like it's finally come to a conclusion. A man who brutally beat two elderly pro-life advocates escaped jail time on Thursday after a judge sentenced him to just 1 year of home detention and 3 years probation. That's it. The sentence for 28-year-old Patrick Bryce was handed down by Baltimore City Circuit Judge Yvette M. Bryant. And Bryce was convicted earlier this year after he left 73-year-old Mark Crosby and 84-year-old Richard Schaefer bloodied outside of a Planned Parenthood on May 26th of 2023. Now, after the trial, Crosby told the Daily Wire that he was not surprised by the outcome. Quote, Baltimore City is criminal friendly. It's not victim friendly at all, especially if you're a senior, he said outside of the Elijah Cummings courthouse that, quote, judges do not like pro-lifers. They don't like us saving babies. I don't know why. He said the day was beaten. The day that he was beaten was the most glorious of his life, and that he was happy to shed his own blood and suffer for Jesus. Well, after the attack, Crosby was treated for a fractured bone in his face, blindness in one eye, head and neck pain, 2 fractured fingers, and bruising on his arms and legs. Now, Crosby says that the attack left him with photophobia, meaning that he has to cover his right eye on sunny days and from very bright lights. Crosby, a devout Catholic who was wearing a crucifix during the sentencing, brought photos of his bloodied face and the same T-shirt that he was wearing on the day that the attack took place. The shirt was ripped from being cut off during shock trauma, though. And Bryce was convicted in February on 2 counts of second-degree assault and 2 counts of reckless endangerment. Yeah, kicking these guys while they're down was reckless endangerment. He dodged a first-degree assault charge in both a jury trial and later bench trial in May. Now, Bryant sentenced him to 1 year of home detention, which means that he will be allowed to travel for work or medical purposes, and he will get 3 years of probation after that, and can't go near an abortion facility or pro-life clinic as well. Now, state prosecutors requested a total of 10 years in prison, asking that the judge send a strong message of deterrence against attacking people in broad daylight over their political and religious views. Now, Schaefer and Crosby both gave victim statements during the sentencing. Schaefer said that no matter how this goes, he would be back at Planned Parenthood. He also flatly denied that he had done anything to provoke Bryce, and as suggested by his lawyer. Terrell Roberts, a lawyer, read Crosby's victim impact statement. In the statement, Crosby asked for a lengthy prison sentence due to the brutality of the attack, and that he kicked me in the face, he said, like a football player kicks a field goal. There's actually video of this that actually goes along with that. And yes, that would be a pretty appropriate analogy. Now, during the trial, Bryce said that he was sorry for what he had did, and he said that he snapped based on a comment he claims Schaefer made to him that was racial in nature. Yeah, sure. He said, I was having a bad day and that he was not an abortion activist. He says, I really am sorry, he said. Oh man, there's so many things I could go off on a tangent with here. But anyway, Bryce's lawyer claimed that the attack was not politically motivated and said that the client had lost jobs and a relationship because of the case. Oh no, poor guy. Quote, justice was not served in this case, Roberts told the Daily Wire. Sentencing, I thought, he said, would end up right where it was because they were going to give them all the slack in the world, unquote. Well, Roberts said a failed application of the law by Bryant ended with Bryce's acquittal on first-degree assault. Bryce declined to make an official comment to reporters after the sentencing, but indicated that he would be reaching out. The attack was captured on surveillance video, as I said, that shows Schaefer and Bryce engaging in a heated argument outside the downtown Baltimore Planned Parenthood facility. And the video then shows Bryce tackling Schaefer onto onto a potted plant, actually. And Crosby, who was standing across the street, then runs over and Bryce pushes him to the ground. Then Bryce straddles Crosby and punches him in the face before standing up and kicking him in the head. Schaefer and Crosby regularly go outside the downtown Baltimore Planned Parenthood facility to urge women not to get abortions. And the attack did not deter their effort. And they have both returned to the same Planned Parenthood in the months following the incident. Crosby believes that Bryce should have been charged with a hate crime because he says he yanked a crucifix he was wearing off his neck and threw it into the bushes. Bryce denied having any animosity towards Christians, though. Just the crucifix, right? Anyway, again, a miscarriage of justice. I mean, there's no two ways around it. And another reason why people are losing their confidence in institutions like our judicial system. There's just, I mean, this was definitely something that should not have happened. This was not justice. So, well, but moving to a different story, though, the FBI, believe it or not, will help track down the Democrats, state lawmakers, who fled Texas in a bid to stop their state legislature from enacting a GOP redistricting plan. This, according to John Cornyn, a Republican from Texas, and what he said on Thursday. Now, Cornyn made the announcement 2 days after sending a letter to the FBI director, Kash Patel, requesting that the Bureau help Texas state law enforcement locate or arrest Democrats after they potentially broke the law. Quote, I'm proud to announce that Director Kash Patel has approved my request for the FBI to assist state and local law enforcement in locating runaway Texas House Democrats. This is what Cornyn said in a statement. He said, I thank President Trump and Director Patel for supporting and swiftly acting on my call for the federal government to hold these supposed lawmakers accountable for fleeing Texas. We cannot allow these rogue legislators to avoid their constitutional responsibilities. FBI spokesman declined to comment when the Daily Wire reached out to them, but President Donald Trump is pushing Texas and other states to redraw their congressional maps with the expectation that Republicans actually could gain some seats in this. The retaliation, Democrats have rallied for mid-decade redistricting in blue states. Shifting lines could give either party an edge in the 2026 midterm elections. Now, dozens of Democrat Texas state lawmakers went AWOL over the weekend with a stated purpose to prevent the state legislature from passing a new redistricting plan that would lead to Republicans gaining as many as 5 seats in the U.S. House. They are doing so by denying the quorum needed to conduct business for a special session. The Texas Republican governor, Greg Abbott, has ordered the rest of the Democrats who have refused to return and filed suit to remove Democrat House Caucus Chair Gene Wu from the office after he led the walkout effort. And he's actually in Illinois now, which is kind of funny because you should see their redistricting. In his letter to Patel, Cornyn wrote, Abbott and Texas state law enforcement officers are doing what they can within the confines of the law, but federal help may be necessary. Cornyn made the request for the FBI's support as he runs for another 6-year term in the Senate, and he is facing a primary challenge from Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who has warned that he will begin removing Democrat lawmakers from office if they do not meet a Friday deadline. Democrats have criticized the GOP's reaction to what they argue is an effort to stop gerrymandering. That includes former Representative Colin Allred of Texas, who also is running for the 2026 Senate seat against Cornyn. But this is not really something that is brand new. I mean, we see this in a lot of states, redistricting and just weird type of stuff. And that's not even what I'm saying is about to happen in Texas, but just simply redistricting is not something to be walking out over. But the Democrats are going nuts. I mean, they really are absolutely losing it at this point. In fact, Texas State Representative Jolanda Jones compared the ongoing redistricting fight in her home state to the Holocaust during a bizarre Tuesday interview with ousted CNN anchor Don Lemon. I didn't even know Don Lemon had another show. Thought he was just basically gone, but no, he's not. Jones, who has joined a number of her colleagues in fleeing to the highly gerrymandered state of Illinois, as we just talked about, to protest gerrymandering in Texas, argued that if she remained silent in the face of the Republican-led redistricting map, that she'd be no different than those who were silent when the Nazi regime rounded up and systematically slaughtered millions of Jews. That's literally what she said.
And then integration happened and everybody thought they accept us. They don't accept us. They are showing us who they are. We should believe them. And we better have the courage to stand up. Otherwise, we will fall for anything. And in this country, we will be defeated, deported. I mean, we will lose all of our rights. And if you think it can't happen, it can. And I will liken this to the Holocaust. People are like, well, how did the Holocaust happen? How was somebody in a position to kill all them people? Well, good people remain silent. Or good people didn't realize that what happens to them can very soon happen to me or somebody I love. And so even if you made it, man, you have an obligation to help people who can't, because God forbid they end up targeting you and your family.
Mm-hmm. How stupid do you have to be to say that the Holocaust is a good comparison to these Democrats walking out of the state legislature because of gerrymandering? Even if that was the case, that's ridiculous. That's awful. But speaking of the Jews and things, well, according to the United Nations, now I want you to hear this. This is the United Nations data, okay? 88.7% of the organization's aid trucks, this is the United Nations aid trucks, have been looted in Gaza since May 19th. Data shared by the United Nations 2720 mechanism for Gaza show that that of the 2,604 trucks that collected aid at the border crossings, 2,310 were intercepted peacefully, this is a quote, peacefully by hungry civilians or forcibly by armed actors, unquote, during transit. Only 300 trucks, just 11.5%, successfully reached their intended destinations. A spotlight on the data comes as Israel continues to face allegations of blocking the aid to Gaza. UN figures show that Israel approved 112 aid requests in June and denied 38. Of the 44,650 tons offloaded at the crossings, UN trucks have picked up only 35,968 tons. This leaves 8,682 tons of aid still in the sun waiting transit, a situation heavily criticized by both Israel and the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GHF, which accuses the UN of failing to efficiently distribute its aid. Well, due to the bottleneck and the constant looting of the UN trucks, the GHF has reportedly offered to help the UN distribute the aid, but the offers have gone unanswered. Instead, the UN has continued to vilify the group and also lose all the aid to Hamas. Well, the GHF hit a milestone last week by distributing its 100 millionth meal since launching operations to feed Gazan civilians in May of 26th. According to GHF, their aid boxes include enough food to feed a family of 5.5, 3 times a day for 3.5 days. Items vary depending on availability, costs, and other factors, but are built off of the similar ingredient list used by other humanitarian groups. GHF is responsible for carrying out President Donald Trump's aid initiative, which aims to deliver humanitarian aid directly to Gazan civilians while preventing Hamas from intercepting supplies, a challenge that has persisted since the war began, of course. And on Monday, Trump said that he does not believe Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Well, right? He said, I don't think it's that. They're at war. And this is what Trump responded to a reporter who asked him if he had seen evidence of the genocide in Gaza. Trump added that the United States is making serious efforts to help get goods into Gaza. He says, we're putting up money to get the people fed, he said, likely, of course, referring to the GHF site. We don't want people going hungry, and we don't want people to starve. And Israel has denied that there is mass starvation in the Gaza Strip and has vowed to help increase food aid. Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad recently released a video of severely malnourished hostages, including one Eviatar David, who the terror organization forced to dig his own grave. Believe it or not, it's all on video. You can pull it up. Hamas and the guy is just absolutely emaciated. I mean, he looks like somebody from the Holocaust. Hamas claimed that the footage that the hostages were receiving the same amount of food as the general population in Gaza. However, a moment in the propaganda video appeared to contradict that assertion, showing the muscular arm of Hamas terrorists handing a can to the visibly emaciated David. Hamas has reportedly barred the Red Cross from delivering food to the hostages unless Israel permanently opens humanitarian corridors and suspends all air traffic during such deliveries. This, according to the Jerusalem Post. So we'll keep an eye on that. But it's looking more and more like Hamas is just going to continue on the way they are, and that it just can't go on like this forever. In fact, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed on Thursday evening that Israel intends to fully occupy the Gaza Strip until an Arab civilian government free of Hamas can take over. He said, we intend to, in order to assure our security, remove Hamas there. enable the population to be free in Gaza and to pass it to civilian governance that is not Hamas or anyone advocating for the destruction of Israel. That's what Netanyahu said in an interview on Fox News with Bill Hemmer. We intend to, Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu tells Fox News, that Israel is aiming to take control of Gaza in order to liberate the people from the grips of Hamas. Now, the announcement comes after Hamas's tanked ceasefire negotiations last month. President Donald Trump saying that the terror group wants to die. I mean, they're the ones that aren't coming to the table. Hamas is the ones that aren't, trying to negotiate. And according to Netanyahu, there is no path forward with Hamas. He says, you meet Palestinians who are fighting Hamas because finally they see that they have a future that can rid themselves of this awful tyranny that not only holds our hostages, but holds 2 million Palestinians in Gaza hostage. About 50 hostages remain in Gaza. Some believe to be alive, others presumed dead. We just don't know. Netanyahu made it clear that Israel does not wish to, permanently occupy Gaza. I mean, nobody wants to permanently occupy Gaza. Egypt and Jordan and nobody wants to occupy Gaza. But Netanyahu said, they don't want to, but would rather give it to a capable Arab-led government. And Israel evacuated Jewish civilian communities from the Gaza Strip, known as Gush Katif, 20 years ago this month, as part of the 2005 disengagement plan to give land for peace. And of course, shortly after, Hamas violently seized control of Gaza and turned the Strip into a terror hub. Quote, we want to liberate ourselves and liberate the people of Gaza from the awful terror of Hamas. This is again Netanyahu. And he said, the only way you will give a different future is to get rid of this neo-Nazi army. The IDF has been finishing up its operation dubbed Gideon's Chariots in recent weeks and has withdrawn its elite 98th Division, made up of paratroopers and commando units, along with 2 reserve brigades, reported by the Times of Israel. The operation led to the IDF gaining control of approximately 75% of Gaza Strip since the launch of Operation Gideon's Chariots. 48 IDF soldiers have been killed in that operation. So we're seeing some things happening here. We'll see what what actually ends up being the end result, but it definitely has to be something where Hamas has nothing to do with the governing. Well, moving to J.K. Rowling's comments. She, of course, the Harry Potter author, J.K. Rowling's. Well, she unloaded on liberals for failing to uphold the principle of free speech, arguing they'd largely done it out of fear that they'd no longer be accepted by their tribe, as she puts it. Rawlings shared her thoughts on a post on X explaining that free speech had to encompass the freedom to offend people with speech, and decried that liberals who could not get past this most basic hurdle. Freedom of speech means freedom to cause offense. The number of supposed liberals who've fallen at this most basic hurdle because of the first time in their lives they risked losing the approval of their tribe has been staggering, she wrote. Well, Rawlings, of course, she's a self-described liberal and advocate for women, has routinely argued radical trans activists the radical trans activists by insisting that men cannot become women and that women deserve to have their sex-based rights and single-sex spaces protected from the men who argue otherwise. And the Harry Potter creator has also rallied against the notion of compelling speech. Specifically when it's applied to the transgender issue and people publicly pressured or even directed by law to say that a man is a woman if he claims to be so. Rowling addressed the topic in a post from one day prior, saying that she did not believe anyone actually thought men could be women, only that some were willing to say that something they knew not to be true for political reasons. She said this, she said, Western society is currently divided between people who know this is a man and are prepared to say so, and those who know this is a man but lie out of obedience to an ideology. There is no third option, she says. Literally nobody on earth thinks Roxanne Tickle is actually a woman. And she shared a photo of the man that she mentioned there. And yeah, I would agree with her. Nobody believes that. So anyway, let's end today on a kind of an interesting note. NASA is working on a fast track plan to build a small nuclear reactor on the moon in a race to secure space dominance over China and Russia. The space agency believes it can launch a nuclear reactor to the moon's surface by 2030. I mean, we're talking like 5 years from now, according to a directive sent by the Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who is also serving as NASA's acting administrator. And this is what CNBC reported. The plan was first reported by Politico and then confirmed on Tuesday by Duffy. A nuclear reactor on the moon would provide a reliable power source for NASA's Artemis campaign, which focuses on exploring the moon for scientific discovery, technology advancement, and to learn how to live and work on another world as we prepare for human missions to like Mars, according to Duffy. Duffy also warned that if China and Russia achieve their goal to power a lunar base with a nuclear reactor by the mid 2030s, the countries could potentially declare a keep out zone, which would significantly inhibit the United States from establishing a planned Artemis presence if not there first. The United States lunar reactor would generate at least 100 kilowatts of power, enough to power around 80 American homes. And to get the reactor to the moon, the United States would send it aboard a heavy class lander, a type of spacecraft that's capable of handling large cargo and stuff. Quote, we're in a race to the moon, in a race with China to the moon. And to have a base on the moon, we need energy. And some of the key locations on the moon, we're going to get solar power. But this vision technology is critically important. And so we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars studying. That's what Duffy said in a press conference. He said that if we're going to be able to sustain life on the moon to then go to Mars, this technology is critically important. And I would just note that we're behind, right? We're behind, right? If we're going to engage in the race to the moon and the race to Mars and we have to get our act together, we have to marshal all of our resources, all of our focus on going to the moon, which is what we're going to do. Well, Duffy's directive seeks to find companies that would be able to launch a nuclear reactor to the moon by 2030. The directive marked the first major announcement from Duffy as head of NASA since he took over as acting administrator last month, after Trump pulled the nomination of Jared Isaacman, a friend of SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, following the public feud with Musk. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of an interesting deal to put a nuclear reactor on the moon and then be able to explore it more. We'll definitely have to see, because like I say, we're talking about 5 years here, not that long. So anyway, would love to hear what your thoughts are on it. And of course, you can always do that at uncommonsensepodcast.com. You can go to our YouTube page now and like and share. It always helps. And thank you for listening. This podcast is